Hi, good morning. Hope all of you are fine. Just recall what we have discussed in our last classes. We have discussed the definition of basis and also find some examples of basis. Okay, and finally we have discussed one theorem, and the theorem says that let V be a vector space spanned by the vectors beta 1, beta 2, etc. beta m, then any linearly independent subset of V contains finite number of elements, or it contains not more than m elements. Okay, today we are going to see some corollaries of this theorem. Okay, now the first corollary is, if V is a finite dimensional vector space, then any two bases of V have same number of elements. Okay, if V is a finite dimensional vector space, then any two bases of V have same number of elements, finite number of elements. Okay, now what we have to prove? We have to prove any two bases of V have same number of elements. For that, what we have to suppose? We have to consider two bases for V, and we have to prove number of elements in that bases are same. Okay, we have to remember our theorem. Our theorem says that let V be a vector space spanned by beta 1, beta 2, etc. beta m, then any linearly independent subset of V is finite, and also it contains not more than m elements. Okay, clear? So here as V is finite dimensional, it has a finite basis beta 1, beta 2, etc. beta m. Okay, and assume that alpha 1, alpha 2, etc. alpha n be some other basis for. Okay, so beta 1, beta 2, etc. beta m is a basis. This is also a basis. This is n and that is m. Okay, so this is a basis. This is a basis means this spans V. Okay, this is a basis means this spans V. Also, this set is linearly independent. Okay, so this set spans beta 1, beta 2, etc. beta m spans V, and this is a linearly independent set in V. This is spans V, also linearly independent. Here also this spans V, also linearly independent. So here first suppose that this spans V. Okay, as this is a basis, this spans V and it contains m element, and this is a linearly independent subset of V. So using our theorem, this n is clearly less than or equal to m, because if a set is spanned by beta 1, beta 2, etc. beta m, then any linearly independent set in V contains not more than m elements. So this is a linearly independent set contained in V, therefore number of elements is less than or equal to m. Okay, now as a similar argument, suppose this is a basis, that means this span our set V. Okay, and that means, and this is a linearly independent set in V, because this is a basis, therefore this is linearly independent. So as this spans V and this contains n element, any linearly independent subset of V contains not more than n elements. Okay, therefore this m must be less than or equal to n. From 1 and 2 we get m equal to n. That means any two bases of a vector space we have same number of elements, finite dimensional vector space. Okay, if it is infinite, we cannot count the number of elements. Okay, so if V is a finite dimensional vector space, then any two bases of V have finite number of elements, and number of elements are equal. Okay, so what we get? Let V be a vector space, then any two bases of V have same number of elements. Okay, so now we are going to define the definition of a basis. We get, if you take any two bases of a vector space V, then that contains same number of elements. Okay, now the definition of dimension is, dimension of a finite dimensional vector space is the number of elements in a basis for V. Okay, dimension of a finite, underline finite dimensional vector space, because if it is not finite then we can count the number of elements. Okay, therefore if it is a finite dimensional vector space, then dimension of V is the number of elements in a basis for V. Okay, as the basis, basis consists of, if a vector space we have two bases, then clearly the number of elements are same using our corollary. So the definition is the number of elements in a basis is called dimension of the vector space. Okay, also dimension is denoted as DIMV. This is the notation for dimension. Okay, a vector space may have two or more more than one basis. Okay, but number of elements in the basis must be same. Now moving to next corollary. Let V be a finite dimensional vector space and let n equal to dimension of V. Okay, then any subset of V which contains more than n vectors is linearly dependent. Okay, let V be a finite dimensional vector space and let n is equal to dimension of V. N is equal to dimension of V means what we have, there exists a basis that contains n elements. That means there exists a set containing n elements that spans V. Okay, therefore using our first theorem, any set containing more than n vectors is linearly dependent. That we have already proved. Okay. Now next one, no subset of V which contains less than n vectors can spans V. Okay, no subset of V which contains less than n vectors can spans V. Okay, basis means n equal to dimension of V means basis must consist of n elements. Okay, that means no subset of V which contains less than n elements can spans the space V. Okay, I will explain the second statement once again. Any set which contains no set which contains less than n vectors can spans V. Suppose there exists a set alpha 1, alpha 2, etc. alpha k less than n spans V. What is our assumption? Dimension of V equal to n. Dimension of V equal to n means there exists a basis beta 1, beta 2, etc. beta n containing n elements. Suppose this is a basis for V. And suppose there exists a set containing k elements, k less than n spans V. Okay, so V is a vector space which is spanned by alpha 1, alpha 2, etc. alpha k. By our theorem, any set which contains more than n vectors is linearly dependent. That means this set is linearly dependent because here n is greater than k. Therefore, beta 1, beta 2, etc. beta n is linearly dependent. That is a contradiction because we assume that this is a basis for V. Therefore, no set which contains less than n elements can spans V. Okay, so if dimension of V equal to n, then any set containing more than n vectors must be linearly dependent. Also, no vectors containing less than n elements can spans V. Okay. Now what about dimension of a zero subspace? Suppose V is a vector space, a dimension of zero subspace means set 0. Okay. What about dimension? Zero subspace itself contains set 0. Any set which contains 0 is linearly dependent. Okay, then what we will do? The assumption is that dimension of zero subspace is 0. Why? How? We assume that what is dimension? What is dimension? Number of elements in the basis. What is basis? A set which spans the space, also it is linearly independent. Okay. Now what is the span set? Span of a set S, suppose S is a set, span of S is the intersection of all subspaces of V which contains S. Okay, for zero subspaces we are taking empty set as a basis. Empty set as a basis. So what about the intersection of all subspaces of V which contains empty set? Empty set is a subset of every set. Okay, so empty set contained in set 0, empty set contained in all the subspace of V which contains set 0. Okay, so empty set is contained in all the subspaces. So intersection of all subspaces. Set 0 is contained in all the subspaces. Okay, so intersection of all subspaces, what we get? Set 0. Okay, the span of empty set is set 0. Clear? Set 0 is contained in, if suppose V is subspace, okay, V is a vector space, then clearly set 0 is a subspace and some contains the some G, H are subspaces of V. Now what about the intersection of all these subspaces? Clearly this is the smallest one, therefore intersection is 0. Okay, empty set is contained in all the set because empty set is a subset of every set. So intersection of all subspaces of V containing empty set is set 0. Therefore, what about span of empty set? Equal to set 0. Okay. Now what we have to prove? What we have to prove? It contains linearly independent. The set contains no elements. The number of elements in that set must be linearly independent. Okay. But empty set has no elements. Therefore, it is linearly independent. Therefore, we treat empty set as a basis for the 0 subspace and number of elements in the empty set is set 0. And number of elements in the empty set is 0. Therefore, basis of a therefore basis of an empty set is basis of a 0 subspace is empty set. Okay. Now we are going to prove one of the interesting result, lemma. The lemma says that let S be a linearly independent subset of a vector space V. S is a linearly independent subset of a vector space V. Okay. Suppose beta is a vector in V. Suppose beta is a vector in V which is not in the subspace spanned by S. Beta is in V and beta is not in the subspace spanned by S. Okay. S is a linearly independent subset and beta is a vector not in the subspace spanned by S. Okay. Then the set obtained by adjoining beta to S is linearly independent. Then the set obtained by adjoining beta to S is linearly independent. Okay. Now what we have to prove? Given S is a linearly independent set of vectors in V. Okay. And we have to prove if beta is a vector not in S, if we are adjoining beta to S, then that set is linearly independent. That means what we have to prove is, suppose S and S union beta is linearly independent. Okay. So if we prove this is a linearly independent, for this what we are going to prove is we consider a subset of S. Okay, let alpha 1, alpha 2, etc. Alpha m is a subset of S. Okay, and as S is linearly independent, any subset of S is linearly independent. Therefore, this set is linearly independent. Now we are adjoining beta to this set. Okay, so if we are adjoining beta to this set, what we get? Alpha 1, alpha 2, etc. Alpha m, comma beta. This is our set. Okay. Now we have to check whether this set is linearly independent. Suppose C1 alpha 1 plus C2 alpha 2 plus etc. plus Cm alpha m plus some d beta equal to 0. Linear combination equal to 0. Now we have to prove that this equal to 0 implies Ci equal to 0 and d equal to 0. Suppose d not equal to 0. Then d not equal to 0 implies d beta you can write as minus C1 alpha 1, taking right side, minus C2 alpha 2, etc. minus Cm alpha m. As d not equal to 0, beta you can write as all divided by d. Okay, that is minus C1 by d alpha 1 minus C2 by d plus minus C2 by d alpha 2 plus etc. plus minus Cm by d alpha m. That means beta is a linear combination of alpha 1, alpha 2, etc. alpha m. That means beta in the subspace spanned by alpha 1, alpha 2, etc. alpha m. That means beta is in the subspace spanned by S. That is a contradiction because we assume that beta is not in the subspace spanned by S. Okay, therefore D must be equal to 0. Therefore this sum equal to 0 implies D must be equal to 0. Suppose D equal to 0, then this is equal to C1 alpha 1 plus C2 alpha 2 plus etc. plus Cm alpha m. As D is 0, that term is 0 equal to 0. But alpha 1, alpha 2, etc. alpha m is a linearly independent set in S. Therefore, this sum equal to 0 implies Ci equal to 0, 1 less than or equal to I less than or equal to M. Thus, we get this sum equal to 0 implies all Ci equal to 0, also D equal to 0. That means this set is linearly independent. Okay, that means if you adjoin beta to S, then that set is linearly independent. This is an arbitrary set. Okay, arbitrary set in S. Therefore, if you consider any arbitrary set in S containing beta, then that set is also linearly independent. That means the set S union beta is linearly independent. Okay, clear? Now we are going to discuss the theorem. The theorem says that if W is a subspace of a finite dimensional vector space V, every linearly independent subset of W is finite and is a part of a basis for W. Listen carefully. If W is a subspace of a finite dimensional vector space V, okay, then every linearly independent subset of W is finite. Every linearly independent subset of W is finite and it is a part of a basis for W. Clear? W is a subspace of V, then any linearly independent subset of W is a part of a basis for W. Okay. Now what we have to prove? We have to prove any linearly independent subset of W you can extend as a or is a part of a basis for W. Okay, for that here we are taking, let S naught be a linearly independent subset of W. Okay, S naught is a linearly independent subset of W. If S is a linearly independent subset of W containing S naught, we are taking S is a linearly independent subset of W containing S naught, then S is also linearly independent subset of V, because S naught is already linearly independent. S is a linearly independent subset of W containing S naught, then S naught is also a linearly independent subset of V. Okay, then S is also a linearly independent subset of V. S is a linearly independent subset of W. Okay, if W is contained in V, S is linearly independent. Therefore, S is also linearly independent in V also. Okay, then S is also linearly independent subset of V. Okay, but V is a finite dimensional vector space. Therefore, any linearly independent subset must contain less than or equal to dimension of V elements. Okay, therefore S must number of elements in S must be less than or equal to dimension of V. That means number of elements in S naught is less than or equal to dimension of V. Okay, suppose S naught, that means this set S naught. Okay, suppose S naught itself spans W. S naught is linearly independent and S naught itself spans W. Okay, then clearly S naught is a basis for W. Okay, now moving to the next case. If S naught does not spans W, S naught is a linearly independent set, finite set, and it is linearly independent. If it does not spans W, then using our previous lemma, there exists a vector B. Okay, if S naught does not spans W means what? There exists a vector, some beta 1 in W. Beta 1 cannot write as a linear combination of vectors in S0. Okay, that means beta 1 is not in the span of S0. Okay, therefore if S0 does not span W, you can find a vector beta 1 in W. Beta 1 is not in the span of S0. Okay, so using above lemma, if we adjoin beta to S0, S0 union beta, this set is linearly independent. Okay, and we are denoting this set S1 as S0 union beta. Okay, we are denoting beta 1. This set as beta 1 as S0 union beta. Then this set is linearly independent using our previous theorem. Okay, now suppose this set spans W, then we are done, because S0 is a part of a basis. If this spans W, this set is already linearly independent and it spans W, means this form a basis and S0 is a part of a basis. Suppose this is not spans W. Okay, that means there exists a vector beta 2. Beta 2 cannot be written as a linear combination of this. Okay, so I am denoting S2 is equal to S1 union beta 2. Okay, and this is same as S0 union beta 1 beta 2. Okay, this set is linearly independent. Beta 2 is not in the span of S1, implies S1 union beta 2 is linearly independent by our lemma. Okay, that means S2 is linearly independent. If S2 spans W, then clearly S2 this is a basis for W. Then clearly S0 is a part of a basis. Suppose this does not spans W. S2 not spans W means there exists a beta 3 such that beta 3 is not in the linear span of S2. Okay, that means S2 is already linearly independent. Therefore, S2 union beta 3 is linearly independent by our lemma. Now, what is S2 union beta 3? This set is linearly independent. S2 is S0 union beta 1, beta 2, beta 3. Okay. If it spans W, then we are done. Proceeding like this, finally we will reach a set Sm which is equal to S0 union beta 1, beta 2, etc. beta m, which spans our W, because V is finite dimensional space. Okay, therefore dimension of W is clearly less than or equal to dimension of V. Therefore we reach a set Sm that is equal to S0 union beta 1 union etc. union beta m, that forms a basis for W, but clearly S0 is a part of a basis. Okay, just to revise what we have discussed today. Today we have discussed one corollary of the theorem that we have discussed in our last class. Also we have discussed the definition of a dimension of a vector space. Okay, and dimension of a zero space is 0, and basis for zero space is set 0. Basis for zero space is empty set. Okay, and we have discussed one lemma and theorem. Hope everything is clear. Okay, in the next class we will discuss some one or more corollaries related to this theorem. Okay.